Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Trident Talks. My name is Charlie. I'm the Director of Recruitment for Security Operations here at Trident Search. I'm delighted to welcome Drew Perry, who's CEO and founder of Tiberium. Drew, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going all right. It's going all right. Aside from the whole pandemic thing, I'm quite looking forward to having conversations with people where they refer like restaurants to me or new places to go and see, hearing some good stories. But you know, it is what it is right now. We're trying to make.
Well, we can only dream of visiting these places, but yeah, sometime soon we'll be back to reality or back to normality. So that's all good.
Exactly. My list is getting bigger and bigger. So, Drew, for those who don't know yourself or who Tiberium are, would you like to give us a brief insight into what you do?
Sure. So Tiberium's a cloud-focused and automation-based MSSP. So we deliver actual cybersecurity outcomes for our customers. We'll get into a bit of the differentiators later, but mostly we focus on collaborating with our customers very, very closely via Microsoft Teams and other collaboration-based tools. And deliver speedy detection and response services. So we're kind of building this new generation of what a security operations center should be. Based on the struggles that we've seen in the past, we're now fixing these with real world solutions. So yeah, it's quite a fun and exciting journey that we're on at this point in time.
Yeah, I've done some research into it, and you are literally launching SOC 2.0, the next futuristic type SOC, right? Or service.
Yeah, I wouldn't get into the whole 2.0 thing. That's a bit cliche, but yeah, I mean, as I said, we're taking from based on my experience and our team's experience, what we've seen working with a huge number of MSSPs and security operations centers over the past sort of 15 to 20 years. All that experience built up from consultancy, previous companies we've all worked at, other MSSPs we've onboarded their customers to, seen how things work well and seen how things don't work well. And we're taking all the pieces that we feel work really well and combining that with technology that's now available to us and doing something a little bit different. But yeah, SOC 2.0, maybe, I don't know. I haven't come up with an interesting name for it to combat that one.
Okay, something not as cliche. So I think you might have just touched on it just then, but what made you launch Tiberium?
Yeah, so the convergence of where cloud is these days. By cloud, again, it's just someone else's computer. It's just either Microsoft's or Amazon's or Google's computers in their data centers. But yeah, basically the shift from legacy platforms, legacy infrastructure on-prem, domain controllers, servers, even virtual machines and ESX, all that stuff's being uplifted and thrown into different clouds. So mostly we're working with Microsoft Azure-based customers. And since they launched Azure Sentinel, which is a SIEM product, which is cloud native, about a year and a half ago, the private preview came out for that. And we looked at that and thought, this is amazing. This is something we've been waiting for a very, very long time. Something that's scalable, easy to integrate with, and at the end of the day, incredibly fast to roll out new capabilities via actual, CI/CD pipelines and APIs and a way of integrating and interacting in a actual modern, scalable way. So with the release of that and the huge shift to cloud-based providers from that legacy infrastructure, we thought it was time to, make the most of that. So take all of our skills in the security operations center and SIEM world and apply that to a cloud-native solution and push it out based on that. So yeah, we've done a lot of work in this space. We really know this world, and we're just taking all of that and running with it now. So times have changed. Simple. Customers need to adapt, and it's not about the problems are fundamentally still the same. Phishing, patching, all of those basic fundamentals of cybersecurity. But now we're able to rapidly roll out detection and response capabilities over top of this new cloud-based infrastructure, which is an absolute game changer.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you've launched the right service at the right time. So I know I speak to quite a few people who are held back from their legacy systems, and they've got to jump through a lot of hurdles. And
Mhm.
you've basically started, and you can kind of hit the ground running, so to speak. So what's it been like launching this service during the last year or so, especially during a pandemic? Has it been
Yeah, it's been
difficult? Has it been
interesting.
easy?
Yeah, timelines have been sped up. So classic decision making with our customers to say yes, they want to come onto the service, or yes, we need your help now. The timelines around that are so much faster because the problems exist, and customers need our help now because they need to understand this remote working and the threats that they face from that. The only difference really is just not being able to sit in a room and bounce ideas around with my colleagues. In reality, we're already very, very used to a remote working model. I myself, I've been working remotely for the last 7 years. So, my human interaction is probably a bit lacking anyway. So nothing's changed in that front. So we are a virtual team, a remote-based team. And yeah, the only difference is we're not getting together. And I think it's worked well because of the way our service works, and it's designed for collaboration through modern tooling like Microsoft Teams. It's all there ready to roll. So yeah, faster decisions from customers to say, yes, we need your help now, and more collaboration with our team members through the right tooling. The pandemic hasn't really impacted us. It's probably driven more business our way because everyone realizes the risks associated with this kind of new model of working, and we can sort of plug that hole and give visibility and detection for these remote workers.
Yeah, for sure. So let's kind of move on to a huge part of your service then, which I think kind of stands you apart from other providers that may be out there. So you kind of leverage automation, and you use what we call bots, right? You're quite heavily reliant on bots. So would you like to tell the audience what is a bot and how can we trust bots? What do they
Yeah,
do?
yeah, bots, yeah, have kind of a negative connotation based on how they've been abused for, social media aspects or pushing misinformation or trolls online and stuff like that. But when we say bots, we're talking about, logic apps, logic chains of events. We use bots in two ways. One, during our onboarding process, we have Power Virtual Agents that guide our customers through the onboarding process and answer any questions associated with that. So that's more of a classic, next gen chatbot type thing. So we're lucky enough to be part of the beta program for OpenAI. So OpenAI develop GPT-3, which is a sort of deep learning based natural language type chatbot. So it's a way that we can interact with customers where you might not even know that you're chatting with a bot from that side of things. So that's through the onboarding process. And then the other way we use bots is to actually interact with our customers for them to get the latest updates about an incident or vulnerability status. They can poll and ask those questions and we pull that in. And then also augmenting our analysts. So our traditional analyst model doesn't rely on the tiers of tier 1 analyst, tier 2 analyst, tier 3 threat hunter. We put our human knowledge all at that top end for proper threat hunting, proper stuff that takes creativity and focus that a so-called bot is not going to be able to do. But what a bot can do is enrich alerts, give us context, give us and collect information about what an alert might be to help us make that decision on one, our automated actions to respond to it, or two, to deem something either a false positive or an actual incident. So bots are used and sprinkled in all areas of our business. But yeah, the most exciting bit is more the analyst actions we're replacing there. So yeah, that's basically saying, this is the information that we've found from this. Here's the automated action and response we've taken. times have changed where you would wait for an alert to come through or an email to come through from your MSSP, look at all the evidence, do a bit of investigation, and then make a decision to like block a user, isolate an endpoint, or take some form of protective action. We're speeding up that chain massively and making that decision right at the start in either a total automated way, if the trust is there and if the environment allows it, or enriching and speeding up that decision-making process. So yeah, that's sprinkled around the business in different ways.
Okay, so basically they are scouring the environment. They're using logic and behavioral data from the client's networks, and they are collating all of the data and then providing that information up to your, I guess, your tier 3 / threat hunting team, and then they can make a decision which will then impact the business.
Yeah,
but that
it depends. So we do this in two ways. So we either work in a hybrid model with our customers if they have an existing security team, and we can speed up their decision making with this capability, or it goes straight to our Tiberium analyst team, as you said there, the more senior threat hunters, to help them make those decisions. But yeah, it depends what path the customers are on. Are we working with them in the full collaboration hybrid model, or do they fully rely on us in a full outsourced SOC type service?
Okay, so I think it's fair to say that bots probably don't deserve all of the bad press that they get on.
No, I mean, it's the future. It's I mean, it's amazing if you look through LinkedIn and in different industries how prevalent bots actually are. More for sort of sales and marketing at this point. You know, the amount of messages that I personally receive from an identity that's definitely not a human, and starts responding back with probably a GAN generated image associated with that. So, you know, an image like from thispersondoesn'texist.com or something like that, where we get these messages and then it feeds off this logic chain of saying, you know, are you interested in this product? And it steps through those steps. But that's very, very basic. But taking that to the next level and then applying it in the cybersecurity space is definitely where we're at. But yeah, there are a lot of negative things around bots because people use them in, well, negative ways. Simple.
Yeah, for sure. I guess it saves up a lot of people hours within your teams, right? They're not spending hours kind of determining whether something's a false positive or not. They're not doing all of the groundwork, I'd say, or the grunt work. So they're actually, stuff that they are working on is stuff that needs to be prioritized, i.e. a client's been compromised. So it's quite interesting. I think bots and automation are definitely the way ahead. And I think analysts, if you're looking to kind of get into security now, you need to have an understanding of kind of SOAR, automation, coding, and how that all works. I think long gone are the days where it's just kind of the level 1 analyst who their skill set is purely just monitoring a log. So it'd be really good to get some insight into what are the type of events that you're seeing. I think you mentioned to me the other day you had quite a large business email compromise situation. Would you like to provide some insight into types of events that you're seeing?
Yeah, so there's two areas where we get a lot of visibility into incidents. One, obviously, through our customer base from the classic alerts that are coming out of the platform. But two, we also do a lot of actual incident response work. So companies call us up when they've been breached or while they're going through an incident to step in, assist in that process, do some threat hunting, or maybe even kick a threat actor out of their network, depending on sort of what stage in an attack they're at. Sadly, recently, there's been a massive uptick in business email compromise. So that's when, I guess you could call them more scammers, get into a third party's email inbox. They then look through their existing email chains for any suppliers, partners, customers, anyone they're interacting with, and then inject into that email chain with similar looking domains. So they'll all of a sudden switch out the legitimate email with their similar looking domain into that trusted chain of events at the right time, and then trick the end users into sending funds. So they take advantage of multiple flaws. One around the inherent trust that humans have when you're sort of communicating and you've built up that longer chain of events. They then target specific timing to understand, and this is why they're so sophisticated and it works. They know when to strike at the right time to switch out those domains. And then on the technical side, doing pretty well in how they're communicating this. This isn't the classic 419 scammers from back in the day. This is serious business of, multi-million pound cyber criminal enterprises making a lot of money. So they're getting into these inboxes, they're injecting themselves in, they're putting in the classic urgency, they're CCing in a more authoritative source in the business to say, here's your boss saying this is approved, just do it, and putting that time pressure on, and sadly getting away with stealing quite a bit of money. So we usually get involved in these situations after the fact, and then do a bit of sort of forensic analysis on trying to attribute that back to the source of where these attackers or scammers have come from. Based on that, we can do a lot of protective controls around preventing it happening again based on tactics, techniques, and procedures, that classic thing. Or we can get involved in more the insurance and the banking side to show that the business did the right thing, and it was actually a partner who didn't have protective controls in place, like multi-factor authentication, or they have weak passwords, or their passwords were available in stolen databases or something like that. Sadly, there's been a big uptick in that recently, and I feel it's growing and growing. The good thing is once it's happened once, we make some strong recommendations on how to harden and improve and lock down the environment to prevent the risk of it actually occurring again. But it's a sad world where this amount of money's literally walking out the door of our fellow businesses.
I think a lot of people say that will always be the number one threat actor that companies will experience: phishing emails, business email compromise, and kind of human error, right? Human education around cybersecurity. So I think you touched on it then. What would you say is the best way, if I'm a client of yours, to protect ourselves from these situations? Is it two-factor authentication? Is it constantly changing passwords? Is it just educating your staff? Is it that simple?
All of the above, apart from constantly changing passwords. You don't want to be constantly changing passwords, because that's gonna what that's gonna do is get an end user to start using weaker passwords. It's driving a behavior of putting a 1 on the end, or a 10 on the end, or $1 on the end of something already quite basic. You should have a policy of strong pass phrases, like 4 random words with a symbol on the end, combined with multi-factor authentication, combined with conditional access policies and policies within either Office 365 or G Suite or Exchange or whatever mail provider you might use, to hit them at all those different areas. So if your password does get compromised, they're not going to get in because of multi-factor. Or if they do bypass multi-factor, because that is possible, it's not the be-all and end-all, the conditional access policies will step in and say, this login looks unusual, it's coming from a new location, it's a browser that you don't normally use, and then you can block the accounts and do some proactive controls that way. In theory, it's back to basics on those things, but again, that's not always easy to implement in a large business. Sadly, by default, all of these controls aren't turned on immediately when you purchase these services from Microsoft or Google or whoever. It takes a bit of time and effort to go through and harden and enable these policies, like safe links and extra strong quarantine controls and all that fundamental stuff to stop these things getting into the inbox to begin with. And then you touched on it there, you're right. So beyond that, when something does reach the inbox, it comes down to the human line of defense of being aware of what to look for, and always questioning, always being a little bit suspicious, I guess, and not trusting, because email, you just can't trust email, which is why I think we should kill off email, but we're getting there slowly.
Okay, that's an interesting point, killing off email. You think it should all be via Teams, or how's that going to work?
Well, that's the challenge, because you've got to interact with someone in the first step to begin with, and you've got to initiate that conversation somehow. So yeah, I don't have an immediate solution for that, but I feel communicating via something that, end-to-end encrypted messaging, either on our mobiles or Signal or something like that, is a common initial interaction, and then moving to a collaboration platform like Slack or Teams or something to interact. It feels better than email, because you can share things in a faster way, and these days it's the only interactions we get.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always emailing. Obviously, being in recruitment, so sometimes I send links and things like that. But I say, look, this is a safe link to click on, etc., etc. But they've got to take.
Well, yeah, that's the challenge, because
Yeah.
how can I encourage someone to do business with us by sending them an email and saying, here's our marketing material, click this link to check it out. So it's a constant conflict in my mind, because I'm a mixture of sales and technical. So I've always got both of those hats on, going, I can understand it from both sides. I don't want to be too pushy on this, because I'm undoing the behaviors that I'm recommending when we do cybersecurity training. So it's finding that balance, and it's building that trust, and it's actually speaking to people. So it's doing face-to-face video calls, it's phone calls, it's more personal interactions to build that trust first, and then you start collaborating and going from there.
100%. That's the way I work myself. So fully agree. Well, I've got one final question for you, Drew, which we ask all of our guests. If you weren't in security, what is it that you'd be doing?
Yes, I should have prepared for this one. I'll be probably in the jungle somewhere, to be honest. I probably wouldn't be doing much at all. I'd have some nature around me. I would have somewhere with some water, and I'd just grow some food or something like that.
Living off the land, growing
back to the land. Get rid of the technology.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I'd be on a beach somewhere. I'd open up a little a beach bar with a couple of surfing lessons and things like that. Yeah, it's an interesting.
Yeah, I'm thinking now, because we've been pushing a bit of Tiberium coffee over the past few weeks. So I'm thinking maybe I should go. I should have been in the coffee business.
Yeah, you and I both. I'm still waiting for our coffee to be sent over, Drew.
We'll get some sorted.
But Drew, it's been an absolute pleasure. All the best for 2021, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.